Welcome to the Chronically Healthy Life show. When you hear the word chronically, do you automatically associate with chronic disease? We all do. It's being programmed right into us. But what if we flip the whole idea on its head? Let's discover how we can create chronic health in our bodies, our minds, our finances, our relationships, and of course, in our lives. Let's jump right on in. I'm Andy, and joining me in everything is my life partner in all things, Minna.
So I was talking to my friends the other day, and they were like, "How long can you keep this Happy New Year thing alive?" So when we figure somewhere around 3 weeks into January, we can just stop saying Happy New Year to everybody. But we can still talk about your resolutions.
So true, but that's just playing around a little bit. Chinese New Year is coming up, so we would probably say
That's
Happy
what
New
I
Year
said.
again too.
You can say that again.
So talking about New Year's resolutions, a lot of people, a resolution is to lose weight,
Yeah,
right?
yes, lose 20 pounds or a bikini body or a six pack or whatever that is.
Exactly, and one of the easiest ways, well, in theory anyway, one of the easiest way to lose weight is to basically cut out the bad carbs out of your diet. But for most people, it's really, really hard, right?
Well, so let me ask you this: Is cutting carbs the same as cutting sugar?
No, it isn't.
What's the difference? Because you have like heard people saying, "I'm cutting out sugar," but they're still eating all these carb things that they don't know is sugar.
Exactly. So carbohydrates at the end of the day, when it breaks down, turns into sugar, right? And sugar coming from sugar, like eating white sugar or whatever, as opposed to sugar breaking down from an orange or breaking down from a carrot. It's still sugar. Your body can't tell the difference. So sugar is sugar, right? But when it comes down to trying to control carb cravings, you're trying to control the worst sugars, if that makes sense.
Like the bad sugars?
Yeah, like the bad sugars, the more of the processed foods that actually spike your sugar and keeps you elevated.
For sure. So, what's wrong with carb cravings?
Well, carb cravings is one of the situations where you have difficulties getting rid of the donuts, the cookies, or potato chips, like my guilty pleasure, right?
And
Or
cookies.
yeah, and cookies.
They had some really good
We
cookies.
got some really good cookies that we found from a local house delivery
Yeah.
place, right? But what people don't understand though is they the people that have problems cutting carbs, it may not necessarily be their fault, right? Because it's not really about just willpower or mind over matter that you can cut over carbs. There could be some serious things going inside the body which prevents you from cutting carbs.
Well, that's what we thought, right? Because when I'm stressed out, when I'm working a lot, that's when I start grabbing the popcorn and the cookies and all that. So I thought it's related to willpower.
Yeah, you would think, right? But then it could be due to chronic infections in your body, could be stress, like you said, work stress, or sometimes it comes down to even nutrition deficiencies that actually making you crave carbohydrates.
So, what do you think causes it?
Well, I think a lot of people, they become insulin resistant, right? Meaning that usually when you eat something with carbohydrates and it breaks down the sugar, your body will normally, uh, you know, release insulin where the sugar will be brought into the cell for fuel, right? But for a lot of people, they eat so much carbohydrates that their bodies become insulin resistant. So even though there's insulin coming out, the sugar is not being forced into the cells for energy, right? So your body thinks, wow, I don't got energy. I don't got energy. Guess what? Now it's asking you to add more sugar in, right? So basically, if your body's dysfunctional in that aspect, which will lead to type 2 diabetes, obviously, that's why, you're actually having more cravings for carbohydrates, even though you don't want to eat it, but your mind is telling you need it because you're low on energy.
That's so technical. What if I'm not one of those?
Well, if you're not one of those, I think well. What do you mean you're not one of those? You're probably one of
Maybe. Okay. What about that?
those,
Let's make it obvious.
right? I think sometimes for people that aren't one of those, you might be one of the people that may be having a hyper reaction to sugar. Some people, when they eat something with sugar, it spikes really high and then it drops really low quickly too. right? That's called hypoglycemic reactions, right? And a lot of people actually have this problem because ideally what you want is when you eat sugar, it goes up and then it'll slowly come down where your body can use it for energy. But if it goes up quickly and then crashes back down, once again, your body is saying, wow, I'm low on energy. I got headaches. I
That's when
need
you
more
grab
energy. That's when you grab another cookie. Right.
So, how would stress cause cravings?
Well, stress causes cravings because it raises, I'm sure people hear about it raises the stress hormone called cortisol, which is released from
Yeah,
your adrenal
I
glands,
think
right?
there's some pills for it.
Yeah, right. And when your cortisol is raised, guess what? It uses more blood sugar as fuel. So now it's depleting blood sugar as fuel, which once again is putting you in this whole fight or flight situation. And that's not something you want to be in. Normally, in a fight or flight situation, is like you're being chased by a tiger or a big, big dog, right? But now here you are, you're in chronic stress, and your body's using up all this sugar for fuel, and now you're crashing. And that's why, once again, here's where the bad sugar cravings come in, right? Like, even though you don't want to eat it, if you don't have any carbs to go in to refill, you start feeling crappy, you'll start feeling brain fog and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I know that sometimes when I feel like I'm hungry, that I need to eat something, I may just need some water.
Exactly. That's the next one. Most people are dehydrated. When you're dehydrated, your blood sugar regulation gets all messed up, right? It may go up, it may go down. Ideally, your blood sugar regulation should be going up, slowly come down and sort of plateau, and you can use the energy throughout the day, right? But if you're dehydrated, that will cause problems too. So for a lot of people, it's just as easy as just drinking half your body, half your body weight in ounces.
Okay, so if you're 100 pounds, you drink 50 ounces of water.
That is correct.
Easy enough.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Not that either of us are 100 pounds.
Hypothetical.
And then it comes down to the next one, I think is a really big one, is sleep, right? And, poor sleep can really lead to bad, irregular blood sugar control. And, a lot of people, they think that if they're getting the 8 hours and 9 hours of sleep, then that is good enough, right? It's not about the time of sleep, but the quality of sleep.
Which is why we use our ring to track our sleep.
Exactly, exactly. And then the last one, which causes carb cravings, and a lot of people get grossed out with this one, is you may have yeast overgrowth or what's commonly called candida, right? And candida is when you have yeast overgrowth in your gut, and then you have an imbalance of the good and bad gut bacteria, which can cause sugar cravings, right? And one of the really cool ways to know if you have candida, and a lot of people may not know this, you may not, have you ever heard of people doing tongue scraping? You know how dentists will tell you to use tongue scraping?
Yeah.
Well, if you have a lot of white on your tongue, that means you actually have a lot of candida growth in your body. So, if you find that you need to do a lot of tongue scraping, that means you have a lot of yeast overgrowth in your body. And sometimes you may be having too many parasites in your body, which can cause carb cravings. And, we talked about how we can get parasites before with sushi and uncooked beef and kids and pets, right? It's almost guaranteed everyone has parasites, and if you don't do anything about it, that can cause carb cravings too.
I know when I was a kid, when I eat a lot, my mom says I have tapeworm. Is that something like that?
Yeah, basically something like that,
No, stop kidding.
right?
So, how do we curb our carb cravings?
Well, I think one of the easiest ways is go on a lower carb, higher fat, higher protein diet. Like, a lot of people call it a ketogenic diet. I don't particularly like calling it a ketogenic diet. I like calling it
Like dirty keto diet?
yeah, because a lot of people do
Bacon.
dirty keto. They do bacon, or they're buying all these processed foods that are labeled keto, which still have a lot of hidden sugar or a lot of hidden chemicals, which is actually bad for your body. But basically, what you want to do is, if you're going on, on a more ketogenic lifestyle, getting your body to use good fats for fuel, then you're not depending on sugar as much, right? Which will lower your carb cravings.
Oh, and that reminds me, I have to buy some avocados.
That's a good fat. That's a good fat. Low in sugar, right? The next thing that would be really good to lower carb cravings is to find low glycemic sweeteners, like which are our favorites.
I like monk for sugar. This tastes like sugar.
Exactly, and monk for sugar, and then a lot of people use natural stevia, and it's very important to use natural stevia because there's actually a stevia brand that's marketed out there, and that's actually not stevia. That's actually artificial.
Yeah, that tastes nasty.
Right, and but the beautiful thing about monk fruit sugar and natural stevia is it has no effect on blood sugar. It does not raise your blood sugar at all, yet it gives you that sweetness that sugar gives you.
And of course, drink more water and get some good sleep.
Yes, drinking more water and sleep is so important, right? Another thing that's really important is getting a little bit of exercise in. You don't need to be very intense exercise, some moderate exercise, right, would be really good. And I think for a lot of people, it's sort of like, well, I got this carb craving. You'll be surprised if you just exercise quickly for 5-10 minutes and you lose that craving.
And of course, scrape your tongue.
Yes, exactly. And then the last thing, of course, is to test your gut for infections to find out if you have those parasites, if you have that yeast overgrowth, right? And like you said, drink a lot of water, and you should be good.
All right, so that's enough grossed out for you guys. And we'll take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna have Christy and your guest of the week.
We all hope to age gracefully so we can enjoy later years with energy, vitality, and good health. But so often with age, our bodies show signs of things just aren't the same as they used to be. Our energy, skin, healing recovery time, and sleep all go downhill. If you had physical trauma that happened to your body like I did, this happens much faster. I felt like a 30-year-old trapped in an 80-year-old body. But do you remember as kids, the boundless energy we had, how fast we recovered? This is not because of getting old, but because of active stem cells inside our bodies. These are the cells that can generate and regenerate all the cells and structures in the human body. They are the building blocks of our organs, tissues, blood, and immune system. They also serve as an innate repair system everywhere inside the body. But as we get older, stem cell activity slows down, become less effective in repairing damage, and decline. By the age of 20, we only have 1 billion stem cells left. By 30, they decline by 60%. By 50, they decline by 75%. 60 by 90%, and by 80, we're lucky to have 50 million active stem cells. But what if we can naturally stimulate our bodies to reactivate and regenerate new stem cells through phototherapy without drugs? Now we can with our LifeWave X39 stem cell activation patches. Reclaim your youth and look younger, feel stronger, perform better, and heal faster. Get your patches now at lifewave.com/chronically healthy life. It's not anti-aging, it is reverse aging.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Kids Corner. So we've just begun 2024, and this year for Kids Corner, we'd like to invite our audience to send in questions that you have. We would like to have more interaction with you and answer questions that are on your minds rather than guessing. So if you have a question for Kids Corner, please send to anything at chronicallyhealthylife.com. And in the subject line, reference Kids Corner or Kids Corner question. And we will do everything we can to find good answers for you that uplift and create a more positive, healthy environment for all of you in your family, for your kids, adults, everybody. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the family. Let's make this year the best ever. And I mean that in every way, because when we're healthy in our lives, in our health, in our minds, bodies, spirits, and everything, everything is just so much better. Okay, ciao for now. Hello, and everybody, and welcome back to the Chronically Healthy Life Show. I am so excited about today because my dear friend Juliet Clarke is with us. And hi, Juliet. And she is fun. So let me tell you, Juliet Clarke is an 8-time author, speaker and elite podcaster who has spent the last 20 years helping authors, coaches, speakers, and small businesses all over the world build expert audiences and publish their books. She started out as a mystery novelist and is best known for her fiction books, Gypsy, Granny Heist, and Dead by Dawn, and her nonfiction book, Pitch Slapped. Her latest books, The Author Success Handbook and Author Alchemy, were released in 2023. At age 46, she received a black belt in Taekwondo and is an avid hiker and golfer. And I know this to be true because I can't tell you how many times we've been on Zoom and she said, I have to hang up, I'm going golfing. And she goes. Welcome, Juliet.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So when we talk about wellness, we talk about it in the concept that it encompasses our entire life. And you have been an entrepreneur for quite a few years. How many years have you been an entrepreneur?
Oh gosh, I started my first business in 2001. So 22 years now. I can't do math, but I think 22 years.
That was pretty good. You did good subtraction. Well, I know that, yeah. I love the idea of shiny object syndrome. Can we kind of explain what that is so people know what we're talking about here?
Yeah. So when the internet came into being, we started seeing online coaching and ads, all sorts of information coming our way that we never saw before. And I think the original shiny syndrome was, jumping on Facebook to do a post and then getting caught in there for hours. Or, the same over on LinkedIn. Or I know for me, I have to stay away from Pinterest because seriously, if I made every recipe that I pin over there and did all of the workouts that I pin, I would be a 400-pound health nut. Like, if that's even possible. Because I just go into this time suck where I could spend hours pinning all that stuff, but I never go back and use it. So I think that's where it originally started, was with social media. It was new, it was shiny, it was a rabbit hole. And then we added around 2010, 2013, online coaching. Now we have Zoom, we have these other platforms, and people are running ads, they're selling programs. And so, we're looking at that 6 figures in 6 months, or, the 90-day Facebook group to 6 figures. So we can really get caught in these new things that are offered, and they can really be a stressful time suck if you're an entrepreneur, because all of a sudden you just spent 3 hours doing something on the internet that wasn't business related.
Exactly. And like you said, it's down the rabbit hole. And that's a really accurate way to put it. So I remember when, the big deal was webinars. Yeah. And people use the big webinar, and you're sitting on a webinar for, somewhere between an hour and 2 hours. And sometimes they would actually tell you what they said they were going to tell you, and sometimes they didn't, and you sit there waiting for them to tell you what they promised to tell you.
Yeah, those were big time sucks with a big sales pitch at the end. And what is so amazing about that is, back in those days, I remember I used to be able to do a webinar and I'd sell a $2,000 product and people would click and buy right then and there. But then they kind of got into the deliverables behind some of those big webinars, and the deliverables were not what was sold to them at the event. And if you remember those big sales pitches, we're going to give you this, and here's a bonus, and there's another bonus, and now you're getting $40,000 worth of stuff for $2,000. And if you look back now, it really was too good to believe, and yet people were clicking all the time. Yeah, that was one of the, I would say, the original time sucks. I don't think people do that as much now, because I know if I have a webinar, I mean, you're on ours every month. We don't even sell really on our webinars anymore. It's just informational. We want to provide great information for people.
Exactly. How is it that you phrase that? It's know, like, and trust, building getting to know us.
The know, like, and trust factor. So that's a lot of what we do within our publishing company. Is when you build that author platform, you're actually building minimal funnels, building your email list. And for my particular company, our key demographic is between about 45 and 75. So these are people that are a little bit afraid of tech. So we really have to balance, creating that first funnel in a way that's just enough funnel to get people in, but then leading to that personal relationship where they trust people. And I think that's what's most important these days, is just getting enough funnel to get people in and then start to know them, because trust really doesn't happen from clicks on the internet. It happens when you start talking to someone and they see that you're credible and you resonate with them. So it really is important. And not only that, if you look at that demographic, that 45 through 75, we've got a key demographic in there from about 60 to 75 that they don't like texting. They don't understand text. They've always communicated through, verbal relationship building. So that is one of the things that is really key now as we get into that older demographic starting online businesses is, how soon do you jump into that personal relationship? And the sooner the better.
Absolutely. I think there's also a component in there that kind of people will jump from one thing to the next, and they're always in a perpetual state of learning, or they think they are, and they're never ever taking it to the next level. And that, in terms of wellness, doesn't work, because you have to stick to something to make it work, and that applies to everything. You have to stick to it.
Yeah, that is so true. Occasionally, I will run into someone at an event who will tell me how they have studied with Jack Canfield, and they will rattle off all the big names in the business. And then they'll ask a question that absolutely tells me that they are a perpetual learner and they don't execute on what they've learned. And I understand that. I've been to events where you have so much thrown at you, but I also, on the plane, on the way home, most of the time, I'm making a list of the things that I'm going to execute and putting it into a to-do list so that they do get executed. But there are a lot of people out there who they'll read, and I'm sure it happens with health. They'll read a diet book, but will they ever execute the diet? Or, Andy was talking about sugar earlier. They read about all the bad things that are happening to them because of the sugar, but they don't stop. Or, they'll stop for a minute. And stopping sugar, as he was talking about, is really hard because you can actually get addicted to it. But back to the shiny objects. Yes, They go from shiny object to shiny object, learning to learning, but they never really execute.
Yes. So when we're working on creating something in our lives that's substantial, like for you, building your publishing house, you decided on that and stuck to it. And I know, because I know you so well, I know you are up to date on everything that's going on in that business. And like when things are changing and evolving and trends and everything like that. And that's kind of the anti-shiny object. It's like sticking to it and really knowing what you're doing and talking about, and then communicating that to your clients.
Yeah, I'm definitely an action person. And I think I attract those action people too, because anybody who's worked with me knows that I'm a little bit hard on people, and not hard in the sense that I don't respect what you're doing, but if I give you homework, you better do it. And that is really, like, if we have a goal You have to move towards that goal. So we really get into breaking it down. And for a lot of my clients, it's the first time anybody has said, here's a big project. Here are the steps we need to get it accomplished. And I think that is a lot of what happens with people is they put that big juicy goal in front of them, but then they don't break it down. They just, they're trying to manifest something that they're not taking baby steps every day to move towards. And that is what's really important if you're going to get away from those shiny objects, because those shiny objects get there because you're procrastinating. I'm taking all this time doing all these steps to this big juicy goal, but look, that guy over there just said that he can do this in 3 months and I'm done. I've made my 6 figures. So, you really have to get down to the practicality of how badly do you want these goals and what are the small pieces that you can execute every day towards that goal.
Exactly. We were talking in a previous week about the difference between New Year's resolutions and setting intentions. And it seems to me like a resolution you might have the big overall goal of, say, like we were talking about, losing weight or quitting sugar or something like that. And then, but if you set intents every day, like today I'm going to choose to eat fruit instead of candy, or today I'm going to choose to have a smoothie instead of ice cream for dessert, or whatever that may be. I don't, I'm making this up off the top of my head, but it's then, like you said, then those baby steps move you towards eating less of the kind of toxic chemical based sugars and into more of a healthier way of doing it. And over time it builds up. And if you're building a business, over time, that stuff adds up.
It definitely does. And you edited this summer for me, Author Alchemy. And Author Alchemy is the practice that's in the book is something I've been doing since 2005 when I was coaching with the Mike Ferry group. I used to sell real estate. And every morning I do the 10-10, and I translated that into that book because it is first of all, you're never going to get to that big juicy goal, even with the baby steps, if you're not grateful. So it starts out with that exercise of grateful. What are the 10 things you're grateful for today? And I have to admit, when I first started doing this, I didn't have a grateful mindset, and I had a hard time eking out 2 or 3 of them. But that's what I start every day with is, what am I grateful for? And then what am I manifesting? What are my intentions for the day? And there is a mind-hand connection when it comes to those intentions. If you write them down every morning, you are more likely to stick through it through the day because of that mental, what goes on between your hand and your brain. So that is one of those things. If you are really wanting to be intentional about a better diet, about building a business, about buying a home, whatever it is that is today, you feel out of your reach, by doing that exercise every morning, you're able not only to see progress, which makes you even more grateful, because as you put those intentions down, you will actually see that your whole life is moving in that intention. So I think that's one of the things that is really helpful is that grateful and then setting those intentions every single morning. And if you break it, let's say you have some sugar. Okay, well, everybody has a cheat day. Everybody has a place where, they eat that thing they're not supposed to eat, or they do that thing they're not supposed to do. But there's always tomorrow where you wake up and you set that intention again and you just do better.
Yes. And, as my background as a teacher, I was really clear with kids that making mistakes is no big deal. It's like, oh, okay, what can we learn from this, you guys? And that ease up on yourself. So I think we all need to just take a breath and just relax a little bit and realize that we're humans and enjoy life a little bit. And so what if you eat that cookie? If tomorrow you don't want to, if you choose not to, that's okay. But that said, then we also need to make sure that we don't fall into those rabbit holes and end up. I've had that experience. I think we all have, of landing on Facebook or whatever, in TikTok or whatever, and you look up and it's a half an hour later, and you've just been scrolling and watching. Oh, look like a dog, a squirrel, rabbit. Oh, what's this? And then it's like an hour later, and you're going, oh, that hour could have been spent doing something more productive.
Yeah. In 2020, I got off social media, and it was the best thing I ever did. I watched The Social Dilemma, and I saw how addictive it was. And believe it or not, when I got off of Facebook, I actually went through withdrawals. Like I knew that I was going through withdrawals, but at the end of that, I don't miss it anymore at all, because you just get you get sucked in, and there's all that drama, or there's so much politics on there these days that it's hard to even concentrate. So I think if you're going to avoid shiny objects, one of them that I would avoid is just get yourself off social media.
I totally agree. I talk about that with kids too. I'm like, parents, especially with young children, they have no business being on social media. It's really destructive. It can be very harmful.
Yeah, it is.
Well, what's another way that we...
No, go ahead. I was going to say, one of the other things about social media that I find really disturbing is when you go on something like Instagram and Facebook too. Everybody's life looks really perfect. And I think that's a message that our kids need to know is, everybody's not perfect. They're showing their best side, and that it's okay to fail. It's okay to kind of publicly fail. As a business owner, and I think most business owners know, we fail at something every single day. But it's really about what you can learn from it and how you can do better next time. So I think that's another one of those shiny objects that is really bad for you, is thinking that everybody has this amazing life, because actually most people don't. We all have the same sort of problems. We all have the same sort of dysfunctions going on. And I think that is really one of those shiny objects that we should have kids avoid, is social media.
Yes. I actually had someone say to me one time, I feel like everybody else has a user manual for life, and I don't. I'm like, well, it's not on Facebook.
Right? And wait till you're a parent. Then know there's no manual.
No, not at all. So let's, in terms of, for our audience, like, I know a lot of people are moving, just generally in our society, are moving away from, they're realizing they may be in a toxic job, or, feeling like they want to create something of their own and be entrepreneurial and everything like that. So what's the balance? Like, what, to avoid the shiny object and find something real, that it creates something real. I know you're an expert in helping people build a platform for their businesses.
Mm-hmm. I think the best thing is, first of all, have a background where you know that how to do everything in your company. Because I think that's one of the things where people get really caught up and sort of fail at the business, is they come out of a corporate job. They don't understand how to open an LLC. They don't understand tax withholding. I know when I was in real estate, so many agents had tax problems because they didn't know they had to withhold that other piece that their previous employer was withholding. There are, just good business practices. Study. Don't get caught up in, that online business coach who is, telling you how to do just marketing. Understand the actual business side, because I think when you understand it, and you understand return on investment, when you understand bank statements, when you understand cash flow, you stop the shiny objects. and you really start to research what you're spending your money on, because that's one of the things that I've seen so many entrepreneurs go broke because, they're spending $10,000 here on something that doesn't get them the return they're looking for. So really, if you're going to go into a relationship that may or may not be a shiny object, do your research, ask to speak to past clients. Look at the cash flow. Can you really afford it? Do you have emergency money? Look at the entire picture before you pull the trigger. I think one of the things that really started the shiny object was those webinars you mentioned, where, they would get to the end, they would throw the sales pitch, and there was actually a drip campaign that closed the cart. So you had maybe 5 days to decide. And then there were those bonuses you were losing. And the actual strategy behind that was to set up that urgency. So don't fall for that urgency. If you see something online that you'd like to partake in, and the entrepreneur says, I'm sorry, that pricing goes away in 5 days, then maybe that's not your person, because you really need time to be able to fully research it. That, I think, is why most people fail, especially these online businesses, because they just don't have that business background that they need to do this. I can actually tell you that I can look back on my past, and every job I ever had through publishing, advertising, an accounting job, as I go up the line, everything was leading to this point in what I'm doing today. And if I hadn't had a lot of those experiences, my business would be failing.
That's yes. So we have to, there's balance in everything there. Know the pieces, the moving pieces. I know I'm one of those tech challenged people. I'm not tech challenged enough with texting or that kind of thing, but I mean big tech. Actually, Andy's my go-to guy. He always helps me, and I can manage my phone and all that. But for big stuff, it kind of is daunting for me. So it's also good to find people you can trust.
Yes.
That where you can help each other, and there's just nothing better than a personal connection.
Yeah, there's not. One of the things I really love, we have a magazine called Breakthrough Author Magazine, and every single contributor in the magazine, we are all what I would call power partners. We exchange business, we have areas of expertise, but I think most of all, I can call any of those power partners and saying, I'm really struggling to do this. Do you know how, and can you help me through it? So we're taking all avenues of expertise and bringing them together. And I think I like it much more than any network group I've been in, because I've been in some where it's like, oh, Chris, I gave you 3 leads. Where are my 3 leads? And that's not really how karma and the universe works. So I really love the way that, knowing and trusting these power partners in the business world helps me keep growing and learning. And I know you too, you're part of it as well. And that was my goal when I put all of this together, is that, we have this coordinated group of people that we trust. We feel free to refer, and we respect their expertise in what they're doing. So yeah, that's another really good way to avoid shiny objects. And I know several other people who have their own little circle. They have a group they meet with every Monday or Wednesday, and they do the same thing.
Yeah, that's really good. breakthroughauthormagazine.com, correct? If they want to see it, it's free.
Yeah. Yes, it's a free subscription.
Yeah. So anybody who wants, if you're interested in writing and publishing that world, check it out. I'm a contributor, and Juliet, let's just go off of shiny objects a little. I had a shiny object syndrome happen to me years ago at a convention where I saw this person speak. You want to tell that story?
So I have a stalker, and her name is Christy Boyd Johnson. I actually met Chris. I was on the stage at JVIC, and I got off of the stage, And here is this woman running down the aisle saying, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. And I was looking around like, me? Like, are you chasing me? And we talked, and I think we've pretty much been collaborative ever since. And it was the only time I ever met you. No, I met you one other time in person. We're like online besties. We talk almost every day, but yeah, that was. She's a stalker. Watch out.
That was funny. I actually climbed over. I am a stalker. I actually climbed over people in a row because you were kind of in the middle. I had to climb over people. Excuse me, to get to you. But that was a time when, you know, I saw this shiny person on the stage, and I just knew we had to meet each other. So I'm still glad I did that.
I'm so glad you did it too. We've developed a really strong friendship. So yeah, I love that. It's funny, almost everybody in the magazine, because you're in the magazine too, we've met at either events or, you know, not the same thing. They don't stalk me like you do, but you know, we've just that it's kind of in the same way with almost everybody is, you know, once you meet them in person, you just, you know, and that's hard online sometimes when you just meet somebody online, because you don't see their demeanor. You don't talk to them for any length of time. So, you know, when they pitch business at you, you're like, I don't really know you. You know, it's kind of like dating.
Yeah.
Online marketing.
I absolutely detest it when someone asks to be connected to me on LinkedIn, and I read their profile and I think, oh, that might be a good, you know, fit. And then bam, I get a message trying to sell me their whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, they don't know me.
Yeah. And that mentality is really hard to deal with for me. For someone like me, it's really hard to deal with because, you know, I get into my clients a lot with that. Are you a server or are you a seller? Because sellers are obnoxious. Servers are, I think, the best situation as an entrepreneur to be a server, to care about your clients, and to really have good relationships with them. I would say probably 95% of the people who have written a book with me are my friends today. And that's because, you know, I am a server at heart, and you're going to get overserved instead of, you know, there's always, I always try to exceed expectations, but I really care about my authors. And if you've ever, like those webinar days, I'm going to go back to those. I worked for someone who literally back in those days, we had a live event and he walked into the room lunch the first day and said, "Hey, Juliet, can I pitch yet?" And I'm like, "No, they're not warmed up." And he was literally like, "I just want this to be over with. Can't I pitch?" And then I think I've mentioned to you before, I went to another event where Hot Mike, the woman, the leader, was running out of the room on a break. Security, get these people away from me. And it's like, would you ever buy from that person? So, you know, there's a lot out there. And I would really encourage people when they're out there researching and avoiding those shiny objects, if you find a server to work with, those are the people to work with because they do care about the work, and, you know, they will care about the product at the end as well. A seller, they just want the money coming in the door. That's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Juliet, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much. How can people find you? Because if you're writing a book, you need to call Juliet. How can they find you?
You can either email me at juliet@superbrandpublishing.com, or if you're serious and ready to publish or thinking about it and just need some advice, you can jump on my calendar. It's www.chatwithjuliet.com. Did I put enough W's in there? www.chatwithjuliet.com.
Yeah, that takes you directly to your calendar, and you can talk to Juliet one-on-one. It's very, very enlightening. Come with questions. Well, Juliet, thank you so much for coming on our show. I have just been it's been wonderful having you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes. Okay, stay tuned. Coming up next is our biohacking tip of the week. Stay tuned.
Hey everyone, it's Andy from Chronically Healthy Life, and on this week's biohacking episode, I want to talk about how sitting is the new smoking. Did you know that the chair that you sit in each day for too long of a day can actually be killing you? There are over 10,000 publications showing that sitting for long periods of time is actually harming your health, which can lead to chronic health conditions like obesity and type 2 diabetes, even if you are fit and exercising. Isn't that interesting? In fact, just because you are exercising, say, even 150 minutes a week, it doesn't actually counteract the ill effects of sitting for more than 8 hours a day. Did you get that? So even if you're exercising, say, 30 to 40 minutes a day, every other day, it does not help your health if you're sitting for more than 8 hours a day. And, studies have shown that chronic sitting more than 8 hours a day can lead to health conditions which lead to muscle loss. It can lead to worse glucose control, like worse blood glucose control. It can lead to higher blood pressure. It can lead to bad digestive health. And of course, you got back, hip, and shoulder problems when you sit for too long periods of time. And did you know that chronic sitting, which, like I said, which is more than 8 hours a day, is associated with a 91% increase of your chance of getting type 2 diabetes and a 22% higher risk in all-cause mortality, or basically 22% chance of dying earlier, right? So, what can you do about this? Well, first of all, keep track of how long you're sitting a day. 8 hours may sound like a long time, but once you factor in, if you're driving in traffic, you got the traffic time, you're stuck in traffic, that could be half an hour to an hour each way. And then you got sitting in the office, which could be hours on end right there in the office. But the one that people aren't keeping track of is the hours they're sitting on the couch, right, watching TV. And it's funny because people think that if they exercise, like I said, some of you guys may be exercising, it's not enough to reverse these chronic health conditions by sitting more than 8 hours a day. In fact, I think they call that syndrome the active couch potato syndrome. If you have a desk, I suggest you get a standing desk, one that can go up and down, right? And when you're sitting at your office, at home, working at home, because I know a lot of people are working at home now, make sure every 45 minutes or so, you get up, stand, go for a walk. If you're in the office, go to the water cooler, get some water, chat up your colleagues. Or if you're working at home, go to the kitchen, refill your water, go take your bathroom break, or whatever it may be. You should not be sitting for more than 45 minutes every hour. In fact, what you should be shooting for is maybe at most sitting only 3 to 4 hours a day. That is sort of like the happy medium where it doesn't affect your health. When you're watching TV, this is a hard one for everyone. Everyone is just sitting, lying down on the couch, sitting on the couch for hours on end, being a couch potato. What I suggest is during the commercials, get up, go to the kitchen, grab some coffee, grab some water, grab some tea, or better yet, do some simple exercises like some squats, or maybe even do a plank while you're watching TV. I know it sounds hard to do, but you'd be surprised at how much energy you're gonna have and better health by not just sitting there watching TV. So I hope that this helps you in keeping track of how much you're sitting per day and how that can literally be killing you. I'll see you next week on our Chronically Healthy Life biohacking tips.
Hello, we are Mutts and Meows Rescue, a 501c3 nonprofit, foster-based, no-kill group. Mutts and Meows Rescue pulls dogs and cats from surrounding shelters. in the greater Houston area. We even pick up dogs and cats abandoned on the streets. Mutts and Meows Rescue is foster-based and rely on your donations to keep rescuing. To know more about us is to know more about our furry friends and help them find their forever homes. Come visit us at Mutts and Meows Rescue on Facebook today and decide how you can make a difference.
Welcome back to Chronically Healthy Life. So for me, I've more or less dropped off social media, more or less, except for cat videos. I just can't stop watching
That
them.
is your shiny object.
That is my shiny object.
It is so true. I love the interview that Christy and Juliet had talking about how there's so many distractions out there and so many of these big promises out there that's promising you the world. And in the back end, they take your money and they don't provide the services. Which you talk about the whole
Sure.
seller and
server.
server. That's huge, right? Because everyone is trying to be a seller. They're just selling you a product. I get texts all the time on my Facebook Messenger or LinkedIn. Hey, by the way, let's connect. And as soon as you connect, oh, I got this product or I got this event or blah 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 blah. And it's like I don't even know who you are.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah,
It's
sometimes
like
you can tell that they just want to sell you something because you don't know
exactly.
who that is, and you can tell that there's no link between the people that is trying to link you.
Exactly. So what she says is so important. I love that story about the stalker, how Christy stalked her and just hopping over people to get to Juliet. I'm just envisioning that in my mind, and that's just so funny. But it's so true when you find people that you connect to that can really connect you at the same level with same visions. Uh, you do what you need to do. I tell you, it's like, I was talking to Juliet before the show and I said, hey, we need to talk a little bit, because I see that we have some values that line up and, maybe we can work together, maybe we can, but either way, definitely it's important to reach out to people that you find that connect with you.
For sure. That's
Yes.
part of our building the tribe, part of the Chronically Healthy Life.
Exactly. So who do we have next week?
Next week, we have another special guest for you. Her name's Laura Smith Biswas. So join us back here on Friday, 7 p.m. CST. You can watch past episodes and this episode at watch.e360tv.com in the Vitality TV network. And if you have anything to tell us, drop us a note at our email at anything at chronicalhealthylife.com. Christy also brought that up in her segment. If you have anything about kids that you want to ask her, drop us an email at anything at chronicalhealthylife.com. And you can also, drop us comments on our Facebook page on chronicallyhealthylife.com. Rewatch this episode on website chronicallyhealthylife.com, on our YouTube channel, and come back and see us next Friday at 7 p.m. CST. We'll see you then.
We'll see you then.
Hi, I'm Julie Jones Hamilton, and my partner, Lynn Kitchen, and I co-host World's Greatest Motivators every Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific on the Achieve channel. Come join us and the best thought leaders in the planet today, right here at E360 TV.